He smiled, unaware that I had discovered every secret, every lie, every betrayal. For months, I watched silently, gathering proof, waiting for the perfect moment. Tonight, everything would change. The man who thought he could deceive me would finally face the consequences of his arrogance. The night air in London was heavy with rain, droplets splashing against the cobblestones outside my apartment. I had just returned from a late meeting when a text notification made my stomach drop. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "Meet me. I have what you need," says. My hands trembled as I read it. For months, I had suspected that James, my closest friend and business partner, had been hiding things from me, deals behind my back, money siphoned from our joint accounts. The feeling that had haunted me for weeks suddenly crystallized into certainty. I grabbed my coat and stepped into the storm. My mind raced, piecing together every small hint, every casual lie he had told with such ease. Each memory was a knife twisting deeper. Tonight I would confront him, or rather the truth he could no longer deny. I had evidence, witnesses, and patience. He had arrogance and ignorance. One wrong move, and the world he had built on deceit would crumble. I could already imagine the look on his face when he realized I knew everything. James and I had known each other since university. He was charming, persuasive, and brilliant, qualities that had earned him both respect and envy. I had trusted him with everything, my ideas, my finances, my deepest secrets. Our tech startup was the talk of London's innovation scene. Yet beneath the surface, James was building secret alliances and siphoning funds. I had always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but the pattern was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Emily, my fiancée, had sensed the tension long before I did. She was intuitive and fiercely protective. Her instinct told her James's smiles hid deception, but I dismissed it, blinded by loyalty. Our office staff whispered rumors, subtle hints that something was amiss, but no one had proof. Only now, armed with documents, email chains, and hidden recordings, did the truth take shape. Every betrayal that had seemed like a minor hiccup suddenly formed a coherent, horrifying picture. My trust had been exploited. As the storm raged outside, I knew tonight was the turning point. The balance of power was about to shift, and I was ready to take control. The night was quiet, yet inside my penthouse, chaos brewed. I confronted James with the evidence, expecting denial, excuses, maybe even tears. Instead, he smirked. "You've always been too trusting," he said, his voice calm but icy. The audacity made my blood boil. He thought I would crumble, retreat, maybe even forgive. But I wasn't that person anymore. Every sleepless night, every missed opportunity because of his lies, had sharpened my resolve. Emily stood beside me, her eyes blazing with fury and disappointment. She had suffered quietly, watching James manipulate both of us. The betrayal cut deeper, knowing she had warned me, yet I had ignored the signs. Every email James had forged, every deal he had stolen, suddenly felt like a personal attack. My mind raced with plans and strategies. I needed more than just confrontation. I needed to dismantle the empire he had secretly built. I checked my phone, my heart pounding. The documents were in order, the evidence meticulously compiled. I had traced every illicit transaction, every covert meeting, every single lie. It wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about justice, retribution, and reclaiming what was mine. Tonight, the masks would fall. And as I stepped closer, James's smirk faltered just a fraction, betraying the first crack in his facade. The following days were a calculated storm. I moved like a shadow through London's financial circles, quietly gathering allies and confirming every loophole James had relied upon. Emily worked beside me, her knowledge of his patterns proving invaluable. Every phone call, every email, every casual meeting he thought was insignificant became a piece of the puzzle I was assembling. The betrayal had been personal, but the stakes were now monumental. I wasn't just taking down a deceitful partner. I was exposing a web of lies that could ruin him completely. One evening, I invited James to a final review at our old office. He arrived with his usual arrogance, expecting a minor confrontation, maybe an apology. But the moment he stepped inside, his confident facade began to crumble. Screens lit up around him, each one displaying his fraudulent deals, falsified contracts, and hidden bank transfers. The evidence I had painstakingly collected wasn't just convincing, it was undeniable. I watched as the realization sank in, his smirk replaced by sheer panic. Emily remained calm, her voice steady as she summarized each betrayal, each lie, each scheme he had used to manipulate us. The room was silent except for James's shallow breaths and the quiet hum of the monitors. Every friend he had trusted, every partner he had conned, was now aware of the truth. His empire of deceit was collapsing around him, and he had absolutely nowhere to hide. James's panic turned to desperation. He tried to negotiate, to beg, to twist the truth in his favor, but it was too late. Every lie had been meticulously documented, every betrayal tracked. I stepped forward, my voice calm but filled with icy resolve. You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I'd forgive. But now, everyone knows. The shock on his face was exquisite, a mixture of disbelief and horror. Then, I revealed the final twist he never saw coming. The accounts he thought were hidden were redirected, frozen, and legally seized. Business partners he trusted had been alerted, and investigations were launched, all initiated quietly over months, using the evidence he had so arrogantly ignored. Emily handed me the last envelope, contracts proving his deepest betrayals, both personal and professional. Every move he made to deceive me had been traced, mapped, and turned against him. James sank into a chair, trembling, fully aware that his empire and reputation were shattered. But I didn't humiliate him publicly. That would have been petty. Instead, I let the law and consequences speak for themselves. The revenge was complete not through rage, but through precision, planning, and undeniable proof. Watching him powerless, stripped of his lies, gave a satisfaction that words could never capture. The final irony? He had underestimated me entirely, thinking heartbreak would make me weak, when it only made me smarter, stronger, and unstoppable. Weeks passed after James's empire crumbled. The city buzzed with whispers about his sudden downfall, yet I remained in the background, unnoticed and untainted. I had reclaimed my life, piece by piece, without losing my dignity. Emily and I met at our favorite cafe, sipping coffee as autumn leaves swirled outside, a quiet reminder that life moves on. The wounds left by his deception still lingered, but they were no longer sharp. They had hardened into strength. I realized revenge wasn't about hatred, it was about reclaiming control, taking back what was stolen, and learning that even the deepest betrayals could forge resilience. Friends who had distanced themselves during the chaos returned, and new connections flourished around honesty and trust. Each day felt like a small victory. I often thought about James not with joy in his suffering, but with a solemn satisfaction in knowing justice had quietly unfolded. The lessons lingered. Trust wisely, guard your heart, and never underestimate the quiet power of someone you've wronged. As I stood by the Thames one evening, watching the sun dip below the London skyline, I whispered to myself, betrayal can shatter your world, but it can also build an unbreakable self. Which character or part of the story did you like most? Comment below with your thoughts or suggestions. And don't forget to subscribe and like the channel for more interesting stories.